This is a scary gospel, actually. You know, as human beings, it's oftentimes that we seek the path of least resistance. We seek the easiest route, usually the quickest one, right? Like most of creation does that. Water seeks that as well, you know. We learned this as kids very early, you know, when we often try to see what's the minimum amount I have to do, what's the minimum requirements, right? Do I need to know this for the test at school? You know, that's something, whatever we have to study. How much do I need to study? You know, sometimes people, just tell me what I have to do and I will do that. And that's often, sadly enough, you know, whether it's like paying, we always want to pay the minimum amount of tax, obviously, right? We want to study the minimum amount that's needed. We want to ask, you know, if what is actually have to be done. And what's sad about that in the end is our faith gets caught up in that same kind of idea. Now that's true for, you know, it could be very fine for many other aspects of our life, but the problem is that leaks right into our faith. And we get caught in that same kind of mindset. Because people will often tell me, what's the, you know, how many times do I have to go to communion? When do I have to do that? What, you know, if this is a holy day of obligation, one of the things that just confuses lots of people is when they remove the obligation. Well, good, we don't have to go now, right? As opposed to the feast day. It's like the feast day is trying to say, well, you know, the burden of, oftentimes the whole point is that there are many, many masses in a row during All Saints Day or whatever it is, and we got to, you know, it ends up being from, instead of, if it becomes a holy day, we already have 10 for the weekend, and if it was on a Saturday, we'd add another 5. You know, and it's 15 masses we got to get through in that 2-day period. So that's why the church in her mercy says, well, move the obligation so that it doesn't, you know, it's not a requirement. And then we watch how it go from, you know, 300 people to 5 or something like that. You know, it's because I have no obligation. I don't have to do it. You know, so the same thing happens with Friday. Is this a day I have to fast? Is this a day where we don't have to even technically? That's the phrase that often happens. That we often use it. If the word is technically it's not wrong, right? That's what we want to do, right? Technically, we don't have to do that. That's the one phrase that I would often use. And I say it's like reaching for the floor. That's what we always want to do. With the minimum out there, that's what we said. But today, Jesus does challenge us. And not only just here, many other places where we go the extra mile, right? Where someone asks for a coat, you give 2. This idea of being generous. God himself, he says, very generous. He will not be outdone in generosity, but he wants us to also be generous with our time, with our talents, with our gifts, generous to the people around with us, to the need, rather than so obliged to do this. All right, I'll get it done. All right, and not to do just what you're required to do in the faith, because there are so many elements. People want to know, when you take a look at fasting, just something as simple as fasting, where people say, well, you know, in the Catholic, you have to fast on those 2 days. Well, you don't have to do it on Friday. No, but it's a good thing to do. You don't have to do it on Wednesdays either. But it's, you know, where is your faith? And what are you looking for in a faith, right? And you know that. And there's so many generous people in the parish. Because look, you don't have to be here for Mass this morning. That's the truth. And you are here, right? And we believe, hopefully you find some encouragement in that. That, you know, I'm doing this because I want to do it. I want to do it for God. I want to do it for you. That hopefully is our approach for many. I mean, if you have kids who constantly, or people, friends, or whatever, they thought, we'll have to. I think we'll change that word have to want to. I want to do this. This is what I want to express. And I think that begins the challenge in terms of faith, you know. But there's something about the legalism that we have a hard time with, that we keep going back to. Do you have to say a rosary every day? You know, do you have to do this? And so maybe be challenged, because Jesus does say, when you've done all you've been obliged to do, all you've been required to do, don't consider that such a great thing.